this theist caller first. We have a theist, Bradley, who's calling in from North Carolina. Bradley, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
Going good, Bradley. How can we help you today?
I've been in your chat here with a bunch of these guys, and, you know, I'm a pantheist to begin with, so, you know, that just means that some of us believe that the universe or the fabric of the universe could be God.
Okay.
So let me start with that. So I noticed you guys oftentimes spend a lot of time trying to defeat religious gods. I mean, why don't you guys try and focus on some of the more abnormal gods like pantheism or, you know, whatever else is out there?
I mean, whenever a pantheist caller calls, we do talk about it. The thing is, like, personally for me, I mean, pantheism is just not the culture of America, right? Like, it's just not where my interests lie. I'm really interested in the big influences that happen in America, and usually that's centered around Christianity, right? Pantheists, all the pantheists I know are pretty chill for the most part, and like, yeah, I don't obviously agree with their positions, but like, I guess it's just not where my focus is at a lot of times.
Right, but don't you find it kind of pointless to kind of keep shitting on religions when it's easy to point out, oh, there's moral differences in their Bibles, or, oh, this isn't scientifically true, or, you know, some of these are old arguments, and it's kind of just like obvious for anyone outside of atheism to see.
Well, see, that's the thing. You'd think it would be obvious, but the fact is that there's still billions of people who don't feel that it's obvious. And so that speaks to the utility of it. The utility of it is that this indoctrination is so strong that people actually need these type of jarring experiences in order to see that real dialogue in real time, in order to help them process. And so even though, yes, we should have known better literally thousands of years ago, that's just not how our species has worked. And what we've learned is that media is an excellent medium of communication to helping people think, even when they disagree. Because even if they don't like it while you're saying it at that exact moment, they can come back and watch it later and say, damn, I was kind of a jerk at that moment, and I think I've learned something now. And so I think that speaks to the utility of it. Yeah,
I mean, it's no secret, right? We have a lot of folks who watch our show that are atheists. In fact, I'd say for most of the show's viewing, we probably have more non-theists that watch than theists. But the theists that do watch are interested, and when they're engaged, they do learn stuff. I know this because we get emails every week from people who engage with it, and we've had people say, yeah, my mind has been changed from it. In fact, several people who are volunteers with the Atheist Community of Austin were folks who watched Atheist Community of Austin shows and are part of the community because of it. So like to say that it's just obvious and that there's no use to this, it may be to you if you're like really tuned into the culture, but this is new stuff for a lot of people. And that's one of the big reasons why we talk about it, even though for some of us, yeah, it may be old because we talk about it a lot, but like every single week, I'm always coming in with the mindset that somebody new is watching this, and I have to approach it that way. Anyway, go ahead, Bradley.
And I do understand that, but I'm pretty sure, as you will know, that, you know, these people that do believe in their particular God, you don't think they have these doubts already? I mean, that's part of the reason why a lot of people are listening to this, is that maybe confirm some of their thoughts or to disprove some of the thoughts they were having or whatever. But, you know, a lot of Christians or any other religious have doubts, regardless of how sure they are about their Bible. I mean, so it's obvious.
Yeah. Sometimes you need other people to say those doubts out loud, right? Like until you can hear somebody else say, "Hey, I have this experience too," or "I have this doubt too." It's sometimes it's not real to you until you hear somebody else say it. You know,
absolutely.
Like just because, yeah, there's a lot of people, and I agree with you. Actually, I don't know if I'd say most Christians have doubts. Maybe that might be true. Most I honestly don't know. We can't survey that, at least to my knowledge. But regardless, I think a lot of people have had a crisis of faiths in their lives, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean they disavow their whole religion. It's not, a lot of times it just means it changes or it turns into something else. So I still think that there's very much reason to to talk about this stuff. I don't think that just because, everybody knows it or everybody has doubts, that doesn't mean that there's lesser reason for us to say the things that we do.
As a matter of fact, I think that's all the more reason to do so. It's like, if you know that people are hungry for a burger, then you open up burger shops. Yeah. And so if you know that people have those doubts, you create spaces for people to actually explore those doubts.
Yeah.
Right. I understand that. I mean, I get what you guys are trying to say. So, but it goes also to, sometimes you can't 100% disprove God. And so I just feel like it could be misleading to be an atheist just as well as a pantheist or anybody else. Look, 100%. Either way.
Let's pull that back a little bit.
Yeah,
we can say it. You can't. There's no 100% way to disprove God. That statement is not quite accurate because God is a generic term.
Yeah.
So exactly. Now, if you're saying if there's no 100% to prove that there is a God, sure, I can go with you there. But specific gods who make specific claims and who have specific events attached to them, we can disprove those. And so that's more so the approach with, and that's what call-in shows really are beneficial, because instead of presupposing what you're attacking, you're allowing the person to tell you, this is the belief, and then you're allowed to deconstruct it logically, as opposed to saying, nope, there is no God. We're able to deal with a specific God claim. And then we can wrestle with that from there.
Well, that is why I started off with saying you guys are attacking the written, because there's written Bibles and written books about God. So it's easy to attack what's already there and easy to prove. I'm just saying, like, well, what about, I don't want to say supernatural, none of that stuff right there, but, the laws of nature. I mean, if you want to claim a God, you can easily say, the laws of nature come from something. They don't just exist, and nothing don't just do anything because it is.
But to go from something to God is an incredible leap.
Yeah, it's still a God of the gaps.
Because God is a specific thing,
Yeah, it's still a God of the gaps fallacy is what people call this, right? It's just inserting God when you really don't have to. There's not a real reason to have a supposition there. And it's because of our religious influences, I think, that we feel a need to put some sort of central higher power in some of this stuff when we really don't have to. And it's quite a liberating thing not to.
It really is.
Right. I mean, I see what you guys, everybody wants to point out God to the gaps. Just because we don't know doesn't mean God. But it's also quite funny how, some of the biggest mysteries in the universe all have a God component that's possible. I mean, you can say that about anything.
I suppose.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's like everything has a God component that's possible, not because of the possibility of God, but because of what people have attached to the idea of God. Yeah. So if I had, it's almost like the Batman fallacy. If Batman has a contingency plan for everything, so he can destroy anybody, he can defeat Superman, he can defeat Darkseid. And so once you've kind of given your character that type of plot armor, then yes, they are the cause and the reason for everything. But you don't have evidence to assign that plot armor to that character to begin with.
Well, it just goes like I was talking with someone earlier in chat. I pointed out, some of the simplest shapes in the universe, such as a circle. It's irrational. Yeah. It makes no sense.
Okay, I think we're kind of going all over the place here, Brad. Can I narrow the scope of our conversation, because we were starting on a way different topic, right?
Well, I'm giving examples of things that don't make sense in a universe that supposedly makes sense. So, sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Just quickly, what I like to give you there, anytime you think of things that don't make sense in a universe, always quantify that with, it doesn't make sense to me. And that'll help you get a little more clarity there, because just because something doesn't make sense to me doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. It just means that there's something that I haven't learned yet.
Well,
yeah, it's true.
No, I disagree, because geometry is based off circles and getting and making shapes. So without a circle, you couldn't even have some of these other shapes, or at least some of the base knowledge to even get to that point.
What? Why are we? I'm sorry. Why are we talking about circles? Where are we talking about? Where did the circles come into this, Bradley? What's going on?
I can go into circles. I can go into wave functions of atoms and this and that. I'm just giving you a base example that everybody can understand. So
I don't understand it though, Bradley. That's the thing. I don't get what you're trying to say. Like, what do you mean when you say geometry is made of circles? What does it have to do with what we're talking about?
Let's say geometry, right?
Yeah. What about geometry?
So a circle must exist in geometry, which is where a lot of our math is based. But a circle is an irrational object because it doesn't have a definite size.
Okay.
Yes, we have a formula for it, but
does a cup have a definite size? Does a cup have a definite size?
Probably.
It does not. The cups can be any different sizes. Keyboards, anything can be any different sizes.
Yeah. It doesn't mean they don't exist.
Right. Yeah, I was curious to understand the definition of irrationality because if something is irrational, I think we wouldn't be able to build on it. And we can build on geometry, which means we do have a rational understanding of it. And we can use circles. We use them often.
Yeah.
Even sociologically.
Right.
That we don't understand. So yes, we can.
Yeah, but also here's another thing too, Bradley. This is a debate about philosophy here. We're getting into the weeds, but like you might be like me and say like most of maths is really invented concepts rather than like, you know, objective truths about the universe anyway, right? Like we could find all kinds of mathematical truths that may not actually correspond to the universe at all. In some way, it may not actually enlighten us about the nature of our existence any more than figuring out the best burrito flavors or something. You know, it's just kind of ultimately up to subjective human interpretation at the end of the day.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
But just so that just goes back to my point. So yes, math can explain the universe, but it doesn't explain why the universe does what it does. So if you want
not necessarily, no. But Bradley, here's the thing, and we got to wrap things up because I got some of the callers I want to talk to. I don't have to have a complete explanation of the universe to necessarily reasonably conclude that particular gods don't exist, right? And I think Darante brought this point up earlier. If we found that there was a new religion sweeping the nation and it was about a new kind of God that made some new specific claims, this literally happened with Mormonism, by the way, kind of like, you know, and it's affecting our politics and it's affecting the way that we live our lives. There's going to be those of us that say, hey, we need to speak out against this because this isn't real. Right. And like, you know, regardless of how much we can know about the metaphysics of the universe, we still have lives to live that affect the daily practicalities. Right. And that's what I'm interested in talking about. And Christianity is, you know, the most common denominator when it comes to that. Of course, we talk about Islam and stuff, too. But like growing up in America, that's really our primary concern.
And just even from my perspective, just real quickly, the thing to me, Bradley, is that I really do enjoy questions like these, but I enjoy questions like these and conversations like these with people who are actually doing the work to get those answers. Yeah. And so like, if you think that there's something out there that's greater, I would absolutely love to read your research on it, your experimentation on it, because, hey, I am not against believing that something out there is higher than me and greater than humanity. I just need to see evidence for it. I love the thought experiment, but I'd really love to meet some people who are actually doing the actual experiments so that we can have the conversation.
Well, it's all.
Yeah.
I explained. I brought up the wave function, how reality's a wave until it's observed into a particle. So how can reality exist? So there's a lot of deep things we can get into. But
which unfortunately we don't have any more time for that today, Bradley. I'm sorry, I do have to let you go. I do appreciate you calling in, but maybe next time we can talk about some more specific examples, particularly if we're going to go into like interpretations of quantum mechanics, you know, which is also like, again, there are differing opinions as to which interpretations are correct. So I feel like that's a non-starter if we're saying, oh, this interpretation improves my idea, but that's like not consensus. So I don't know, you know, that's a lot of quantum mechanics conversations I have in a nutshell. But anyway,